Deep in the heart of the Whispering Woods lived a little squirrel named Sammy. Sammy was no ordinary squirrel. He had a bushy tail just like the others, but his tail was a brilliant shade of blue. You might have seen a blue jay, but have you ever seen a blue squirrel? Well, there was only one in all of Whispering Woods. One crisp autumn morning, Sammy was scampering up an oak tree when he spotted a terrible sight. All around him were hundreds of little acorns, but each one had been split open and was empty. Acorns were the most important part of a squirrel's winter food supply, and these clever little critters had clearly been stolen. Who could have taken them? Just then, Sammy saw a family of rabbits hopping by. "Good morning," called out Sammy. "Good morning," replied one of the rabbits. "What's your hurry?" Sammy asked. "We're late for breakfast," said the rabbit. "And what are you doing up that tree, Mr. Squirrel?" "Looking for acorns," said Sammy. "But it seems that someone has beaten me to it. Look! They've even left their calling card." He showed the rabbits the neatly split acorn cups. The rabbits looked at each other and then back at Sammy. "We didn't take your acorns," said one of them. "We're vegetarians," and with that, they hopped away. Sammy shook his head. Rabbits don't eat acorns. But who did? He thought and thought, but it wasn't until he climbed down the tree and saw a long series of deep tracks leading into the bushes that he got a clue. These were no rabbit tracks. They were far too big. Sammy cautiously pushed aside a twig and peeked into the bush. There, fast asleep, was a little piggy, a very little piggy with a very big appetite. He had a blue jacket with gold buttons, a blue hat with a gold buckle, and his belly was stuffed with acorns. Sammy knew that look. It was the same as the one he saw in the forest when he accidentally broke one of the dairy's favorite twigs last spring. Sammy felt a little bit scared, but mostly he was angry. How dare this piggy take all his hard-earned acorns? Without wasting another minute, Sammy began to dig. He dug and he dug until he made a hole big enough for him to crawl through. Then, keeping as quiet as a mouse, he wriggled inside. The piggy's house was filled with all sorts of treasures, shiny buttons, lost gloves, even a golden comb. But what made Sammy the happiest was the sight of all those acorns piled up in the corner. Now, he didn't want to hurt the piggy, so while he was still sleeping, Sammy began to push those acorns out of the den, one by one, until the piggy started to stir. "What's going on?" the piggy mumbled sleepily. "Why is my house so drafty?" Sammy stood up on his hind legs and said as calmly as he could, "I think it's time you gave back those acorns, Mr. Piggy." The piggy yawned and stretched, and then he noticed Sammy. Oh, I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't realize anyone owned these acorns. I just found them lying around and I couldn't resist. I'm terribly hungry." "Well, there's plenty of acorns for both of us," said Sammy. "And besides, it wouldn't be very nice to wake up your friends, would it?" The piggy looked very ashamed. "You're right," he said. "That was very naughty of me. Thank you for bringing them back." Then he did something very surprising. He took his golden comb and gave it to Sammy. "Here, you can have this," he said. "It's not much, but it's all I have to give." Sammy took the comb, and from that day on, he and the piggy became the best of friends. The next time we find Sammy, he's sitting on a branch high above the forest floor, happily picking his teeth with his new golden comb. Now, Do you know why Sammy wasn't afraid to stand up to that piggy? That's right. It's because he knew he had a friend to help him. If you always have a friend to rely on, you can be brave when you're facing any challenge.